Welcome back to the Portraits in Fitness channel. My name is David. I'm a photographer and I have a podcast by the name of Portraits in Fitness. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Music, but that's not what I'm here to talk about again. I'm here for another update on my carnivore way of eating and my path, how things are going. And I like to think of it as carnivore lifestyle medicine. So I've been dosing that for exactly 2 months now. It's been exactly 8 weeks. So this is my 8th update. And I do have a couple little brief updates to share with you today. But I actually wanted to just give a little bit of an introduction to a brief segment that I recorded last week while I was in an undisclosed location on a working holiday. And I broached a couple of subjects that I feel are really worth exploring. And it's something that I want to continue to explore. And maybe I didn't articulate things exactly the way I wanted, but it's a beautiful setting. And I think I touched on a few important things. So I'm going to roll that recording right now, and I'll see you back on the other side. I don't just want to give an update today. I want to share some thoughts about where I am, what carnivore means to me, and what I think this community could use a little of. I want to start thinking about certain things that I believe concern everybody that is in this lifestyle and way of eating. I believe we're all in this because we want a better life, and we're willing to maybe sacrifice is probably the word that comes to mind, but it doesn't feel like a sacrifice to me, to have a better quality of life, maybe better life expectancy. I don't even know. I don't care. It's just a quality of life, to be healing ourselves. And I find myself just feeling better about not just myself, but my relationships with other people as I go along this path. So we're doing this for healing. And an outgrowth of that is, like, we're starting to think about things like, what is our food supply like? How is that working? What are the threats to it? What can regenerative farming do for the world, not just carnivores? There's so much emphasis on the environment that I believe is completely misplaced, and the entire sustainability, plant-based eating, Bill Gates funding not just Beyond Meat and taking over farmland, but also even funding research into plant-based fats to replace animal fat in our world, in our diets. I mean, it's just madness, and it's misplaced. It's not good for the planet either. They lie, they claim things are good for the planet. Regenerative farming with ruminant animals roaming the land, that's good for the planet, and it's good for us. So we have more energy, so we're healthy, we're not sick, we're not feeling crappy, we don't have low energy. What do you do when you have better energy? What do you do when you don't have brain fog? These are the things I want to think about. How do I support ranchers near me? How do I advocate for reasonable policy? We're in this for our health, for a better life, for a better planet. And what do we do now that we're better equipped? We're not sick. We're not feeling crappy. I wrote down what that means to me, and that is translating our trust in our properly nourished, rested, and cared for bodies into action. So how do we do that when we trust our bodies? When I had that acute pain, I mentioned it, but I did not find myself trusting any Western-trained, MD, credentialed, board-certified medical doctor, because I don't trust their training. And I'm making a blanket statement. I'm sure there's plenty of doctors that do not want to push pharmaceuticals on people. However, that's what they've been trained in. And with the electronic medical record system, for instance, if you have high cholesterol, your doctor That's measured, that goes in the system. If they don't prescribe statins, they're going to get dinged. They need a certain percentage of statin prescriptions based on the number of diagnoses that they have. And if they don't keep up with the statin prescriptions, because that is just what it says in the book, and the same with the psychological issues. If they don't prescribe based on the DSM-5, the latest in that Bible, they're going to get in trouble. And of course, their livelihood depends on it as well, their licensing and their livelihood. And so those of us who are doing this for our health, and we've discovered that the healthcare system doesn't serve us to be kind, we won't get into what else it does to us. The last 4 years have been a big lesson in that. So what do? There's opportunities for us to explore. There's a groundswell of demand for naturopath doctors or various different types of practitioners. So when the malarkey of 2020 rolled around and the subsequent push for everybody to shoot a dart in their arm, there was definitely a lot of vocal support for alternative practitioners, not necessarily trained in alternative practices, but those who wouldn't push things like arm darts, jibby jabbies, but people who were trained in the Western medicine, allopathic realm, but who wanted to maybe practice a little bit off the side without losing their livelihood completely, and basically kind of organizing themselves into a new structure. And I just want to put those things out there, for those of us that are kind of skeptics about what we're told by industry, by government, by the media. What do we do? What do we focus on? They're after the ranchers, they're after the farmland, they're after the production, they're after the distribution. And yeah, I'm mentioning what they are doing, but I want to focus on solutions. What are we going to do about it? So let's start thinking about that. I don't have the answers, but I want people to come on my show and we'll discuss that kind of thing. What are we going to do? Because we feel good, we want other people to feel good, and we want this way of eating to be available to us in the future. And yeah, we're going to help the freaking planet too. So I hope you enjoyed that brief video from last week. It's highly edited. I tried to keep it brief. And I think I'd like to expand just a little bit on two things. One, I mentioned that they're after the ranchers. They're after meat eating in general, meat consumption, the raising of meat, distribution. They're after the supply chain in a way. But I don't want to get all doom and gloom on everybody and say they're after us, like Alex Jones, the globalists are going to get us. They're turning the frogs gay. It's true. They're turning the frogs gay, but what are they doing? If we focus on what they are doing, they, quote unquote, I think that we give away sovereignty. We give away our ability to be proactive and organize and just take control over our lives. And fear is paralyzing. We saw that with the malarkey of 2020 and beyond. I mean, I was out today, I probably saw 24 people wearing masks, and I was only out for a short period of time. Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area. And it's sad. These people are operating out of fear, and just they believe they're doing what's best for themselves, and they think they're helping other people because the news tells them that there could be a new variant around, and they're told that all about germ theory from cradle to grave. We learn about germ theory. Well, they're just operating based on what they know, what information they've been exposed to, and then they're not open to new information or information that differs from that because of fear, and they'll do crazy things. When you're in fear, you're passive. You cannot be proactive in a fearful state. So let's get past that state of what are they doing to us? And really, what I want to do is really have a think of, okay, we want to preserve our meat supplies. We want to share this good thing that we're doing. And we're all taking care of ourselves. And some of us are influencing lots of the people just even around us, not just online, but people right around us in our lives. Our spouses may be changing their diet. Some may be going full carnivore. Others might just be cutting out, simple sugars or white sugar and becoming healthier and becoming a higher performing human being. And that's really what I think brings us together. And, we have people who have contributed a lot to carnivore understanding of the way of eating and the dangers and damage potentially of the vegan or just heavy vegetable lifestyle. And I personally was also a vegetarian for a while. And although I wasn't really dogmatic about it, I can see that people can really identify with that. There's so many memes about vegans. How do you know if someone is a vegan? Just wait a few seconds, they'll tell you. And that means that they identify with it. So these people, if they're in pain, it's very difficult for them to change and to even listen to alternative viewpoints and let alone change what they're doing. So let's just cut the dogma. Let's be patient with other people. Keep doing what we're doing and show them how it's done, because that's really, in my experience, how to win people over. I've never been a proselytizer. I like sharing what I'm doing, but I'll always say it works for me. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing now. I've made tons of mistakes. I've made tons of mistakes in my diet in the past, and I could continue to make many mistakes in the future. So I'm just an N1, experimental one here, sharing what I have. But I do want to open up some new topics for exploration myself and for a future series of discussions. It could turn into a new podcast, probably audio only, but those are the kinds of things I do want to discuss. And I do want to identify and bring together a community of people, whether they're strength coaches or yoga teachers or MDs or, all the credentialed type of people who really haven't been served well by the pharma, big medicine, big agro, big government, big tech, big education, industrial complex. And they've escaped that, but maybe their concern is making a living, not dispensing pharmaceuticals to people. Well, how do you do that? I mean, when you cure somebody, you kind of lose the client, right? And so what do these people do? Maybe you just have to spread the word. Maybe you can be a consultant. Or maybe in a situation like I was 2 weeks ago when I was flat on my back, unable to move, and just thinking anything would be preferable to this pain. If I knew somebody locally who I could go to who could help diagnose what I was going and at the same time encourage me to continue what I was doing and not tell me that I needed to take some kind of a pharmaceutical or get off of this way of eating, then by all means, I would have gone to that practitioner, but I felt very alone, and I ended up just waiting it out and doing a bit of fasting. And so, this can be a lonely thing. We do have a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds, and we're not all coming to this way of eating. And maybe some of the viewers are not convinced. They're not on this way of eating. Maybe you're considering keto and you've stumbled upon this video. Just remember that an elimination diet that gets rid of the processed grains, gets rid of simple sugar, pure sugar, and starch, gets rid of alcohol, you're already ahead of the game. If you can find fresh produce, things that come straight from nature that aren't processed, that's great. And I think there's space for you. Certainly with me in this channel, if you're doing something for your health and you're feeling better, then that's fantastic. If you can take a jog around the supermarket when you get in there and go straight to the section that you need to and ignore all the processed food all over the place, all those aisles just packed with processed food, and you can, for instance, like me, just go straight to the butcher counter and go to the meat section, go look at those labels, see what's on sale, and then maybe go to the butcher and order something up and throw some of that meat in your big ass freezer so that you have plenty of meat available, then that's awesome. And you're in and out of that supermarket in a hurry and you don't feel like you missed anything. These are the kinds of things that show that you're getting ahead and you're doing great. As for my health, I've reached the 8-week mark, exactly 2 months since I began the application of this carnivore lifestyle medicine. And really the big takeaways are just the energy levels are really good, just very sustained. I mentioned it before. I feel like there's an electrical current running through me. And it's something that I haven't experienced other than when I was at peak fitness. But at the same time, when I was in peak fitness as a Ironman triathlete and ultramarathon runner, I always knew that fitness did not equal health. And it was very elusive because sometimes I'd get in tip-top shape and just be at the precipice of falling really ill. And then I'd just fall off a cliff for a period of time, from a week to sometimes a month or two at a time. And sometimes that came at a very, very inopportune time just before a race, because when we're preparing for a race, we overtrain or overload our systems and then we try and taper down. Sometimes the body takes that as a signal to just get sick and have a rest. So I experienced that a couple times. I had a couple really bad illnesses the day of a race or around a race a few days before, and I wasn't even able to make the trip to the race. So I understand that peak fitness as an athlete is very elusive, but on this carnivore way of eating, I just feel this electrical charge running through my body on any given day. So I must be doing something right, and I'm going to continue doing it. And just one thing I haven't mentioned, which is kind of funny, a different aspect. I've been biting my nails since, I don't even know, probably high school. So, high school was 40 years ago for me. 40th anniversary of our high school reunion coming up next year. Scary stuff. And although I continue to consume coffee, which can cause a bit of jitters for some people, there's something that used to make me want to bite my nails. It's not anymore. And I had to go out and I'm not at the point where I'm clipping my nails, but I probably will be. I'm just filing them down with an emery board. So I have nails for the first time in quite a while. I remember the last time I stopped biting my nails was only because I was living in China for a winter and everybody was burning very dirty coal over the winter, and I was taking a lot of long train rides, and it was just so disgusting that even me, who loved biting my nails, couldn't bear to bite my nails because it was so dirty. And I'm sure China's cleaned up quite a bit in the interim, because that was a long time ago. And as of today, it's the first time I weighed myself since my road trip. I have lost a grand total of 28 pounds since I began weight training, going to the gym. I was going to the gym, but I began weight training in mid-November 2023. And so I'm very happy with that, but I'm still a few pounds away from my interim goal. At the same time, I'm really more concerned, or I'm more interested in just how I feel. And I already feel like I don't have that gut hanging out anymore, and I'm on a really nice trajectory. So I'm just mellowing out. I'm trying not to be dogmatic about anything or, married to numbers on the scale, or even weighing my protein versus fat intake. I'm doing things by intuition at the moment, and my intuition has hardly ever failed me. And if I do make a mistake or two, hey, I can take it. So speaking of mistakes and setbacks, a couple weeks ago, I gave an update on my back was really hurting. I was in pain, and I have come a really long way in just kind of clearing out that system. I'm not feeling that abdominal pain anymore. I do have a little tiny bit of tightness in my back, and I am fairly convinced that really it's kind of like that last hired, first fired type thing. If there's something that's been in your system a really long time, like oxalates that may have accumulated in some area, or maybe chronic pain in some area, that's probably going to be the most acute, attention grabbing aspect of your healing, of your recovery. And I know others have shared information like that. And so I'm giving myself a little time, and I'm definitely able to just wake up in the morning and get up and function, and resuming my gym workouts and my weights. So now that I've reached the 2-month mark, I'm really looking forward to sharing my story a month from now. That's at the 90-day mark, and I'll be on Dave Mack's No Carb Life channel. I find myself tuning into Dave's most recent interviews almost on probably a several time a day basis, because often he posts more than one video a day. And a lot of the people he has, their stories are so fascinating, so inspirational. And I really hope I can live up to those guests that he has. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to having some good things to share with him, and that'll be in a month. But until next week, that's it for today. I'll be back next week with a 9-week, not 90-day, a 9-week update, and perhaps on the tail end of having come back from a carnivore camping trip. And if not, I'll still have an update. So if you're in America, you celebrate July 4th, as the Aussies say, have a real banger of a July 4th, figuratively speaking. Don't fall off the rails. If you do, just get back on. You'll be good. And until the next video, be good to yourself.